Welcome back to the Mike Gormley Show. Mike, take it away.
Uh, we do have Steve Postell and Danny Kortchmar from the immediate family with us. They're going to be playing in the California area coming up at the Mint in Los Angeles, and on the 14th at the Libero Theater in Santa Barbara. But they're both sold out. So it's nice to hype them, but people can't at this point, I guess, can't get in. That's not a great message, but the truth.
There's two more shows in California before we go east. I don't know the name of the theaters. One's in Saratoga and one's in Livermore. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know. I don't know if they're sold out or not, but if you're up that way, check it out.
I hadn't heard about those gigs, so that's we'll catch up on those. Um, so the album, immediate family album, uh, Skin in the Game is what? It's been out now for what, 6 months, something like that.
No, I think it just came out, the album. Or it hasn't
The
even
album
been
did.
released yet. The album hasn't been released yet. It's going to be released in February. We do have a single out now.
Ah, that's it. Okay. And the single is called Skin in the Game, is it not?
Correct. Yeah.
Cool. My confusion. Was the recording process, given the schedules that you guys have, were you able to really zone in on it, or was it, he's available today, we'll do this? I imagine you're too professional to be that scattered, but was it, were you able to just sit down and do it, or was it when available?
We were able to sit down and do it. At that point, everyone had freed their schedule. I think it was 5 days in a row. The first album was 3 days. So the second one was like 5 days. Isn't that right, Post? For 5 days.
Yeah, we have a process where we do we do a lot of pre-production in the sense of we pick the songs, we do a lot of writing, we get them together. And the process is we come over to my studio, which you're looking at, and we do a vocal and a guide guitar and a click track.
Mhm.
That way we know the form. So we do a lot of this work. That way we can work very fast. Then we go over to Groove Masters, which is Jackson Browne's wonderful studio. And we just cut tracks to these demos that we've created here over here. And then when that's done, we take it all back and just go to town, start overdubbing.
But all that in 5 days.
Well,
No,
the 5 days is the tracking part.
Oh, okay.
But there's weeks after that where we go over to Steve's studio and we on this last album we did a lot of work, a lot of post-production work, I should say.
It's a band made up of producers or people who have been doing that for a long time. Is there one producer of this album?
No, it's done by committee. Now, mostly that doesn't work, but with us it does because we've known each other for a million years.
Yeah.
I've known Russ and Lee for more than 50 years. I've been playing with them. Waddy, he's the new guy, 40 years, So we've all known each other a real long time, and there's very little disagreement about parts and about how to put stuff together. We're all on the same page.
Yeah. And so the word in the title, family, is very descriptive of what's going on.
It is, but also we agree about what the music should be. We agree about how it should go and what it should sound like. Without that, you got chaos. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a very shared sensibility. There's some differences here and there. Danny and I are careful not to mention John McLaughlin in front of Waddy, for example. But but there's a real shared mentality and sensibility about really what is great about rock and roll, and we all I think we all have a pretty good idea about what that is.
Did any of the people you've been working with over the years, did they guest on the album at all?
No, there was no guests on the album, and we had determined that. It wasn't going to be one of those albums. Everyone is doing this. They think they got to make an album. They got to call everybody in to do guest shots and to do duets and stuff. I think it's a losing formula, in my opinion. And certainly we didn't do it. We don't need to do that. The idea for us was to present ourselves as a band, all, self-contained, music, lyrics, singing, playing.
What was the first gig you did as immediate family, first live show?
I remember very well. I had a show booked. There was a place in Westlake Village called Bogies.
Mm.
Danny and I were going to play. I have a band called Night Train Music Club, which is really it's just sort of an all-star. It's just a fun thing that I do. And Danny was going to do it with me, so we had the date booked, and the band was getting, and the guy said, "Hey, you want to make that a media?" I mean, he knew about us, the guy who books it, so we just swapped it over from being that and to being Immediate Family. That was our first gig.
I imagine that was adrenaline producing. I mean, it was just there you were out in front of people doing this stuff you've been working on, but it was you guys, not, as Danny said earlier, you're not working for other people. It was you guys in the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
And was that, were there nerves in there, or was it just here we go?
Well, of course there were nerves in there, but you got to remember, all of us have been on stage our whole lives.
Yeah.
It's not new for us. To get in front of a microphone and play for an audience was not new for any of us. So it wasn't like we were just, walking the plank, as it were. We had a lot of confidence in what we were going to do. When you got Russ Kunkel and Lee Sklar as your rhythm section, things are not going to go wrong. Basically, it's going to work,
Yeah.
And so that's your security blanket, as it were.
Yeah, security blanket. I mean, it must be great for you guys to know that's
Absolutely
gonna come together.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll say that the band, I mean, we were really good then, but over time, this organic thing happened, which happens with bands. It does not happen when you hire guys to play. And there becomes, as much as we were a unit and tight and had made the record, I just feel over the last 5, 6 years that this something you really can't articulate or analyze happens with, and we have
Yeah.
just a very innate sense of what happens when we get together and play.
Now, Steve, you were working with, well, we first met, actually, you and I first met with Dan Navarro and connected that, which was kind of a funny story, because we were in this band in Kansas City going into a convention, and we were sitting beside each other, had not met, and with the course of the conversation, turns out we're both going there for the exact same reason, the exact same person, which was Dan Navarro. But you've been busy with other artists as well. I mean, David Crosby was somebody you were working with a great deal, and a couple of others. Any others you?
I mean, over the years, I toured with John Oates when he first decided to. They've had different. Now they're on a sort of possibly permanent hiatus, but they would take hiatus from Hall & Oates. So he put a band together with me, and I played with Jennifer Warnes for years. I played with Eric Anderson, Ian Matthews, Pure Prairie League. Over the years, different and lots of sort of individual shows of where I end up on a show with Richard Thompson, one show. There are a lot of different situations over the years.
Yeah. We're closing in, I think, pretty soon on commercials. I want to talk about the new documentary. It's a pretty, you might say, new band who already have a documentary, but it's because of your backgrounds that somebody decided to jump in there. But I feel that it's giving a real kick to the band. Are you feeling that happening yet?
Well, sure, yeah, of course it is. Got to remember, we're a new band consisting of a bunch of old cats, a bunch of old men. But we like to rock, and we play great together. And although it doesn't make sense in terms of how to promote it, these are a bunch of old cats that played on everybody's records. And now they have a band. It's like, is anyone going to be interested? I think people will, because of the documentary, because of the story. And that's the point. This band and the individuals in it have a hell of a story. And I think that's part of our history as well.
It's available now on streaming and so on, the documentary?
That's right.
All the services, yeah.
Is it Netflix, or where is it?
You can find it. You can find it.
It's got. I mean, there's
easy to find.
30 services that anywhere where you can on demand, direct.
Yeah, I found it on
VOD. You can get it
on Apple, and then it was also on Amazon the other night. So I think I got it from Apple though.
It's all over, and it's
really good.
It's called The
Yeah.
Immediate Family, right? That's what you go look for.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, guys, a great documentary. I loved it. Really, really enjoyed it.
Really well done. It was done by Denny Tedesco, who did the Wrecking Crew documentary, which is just one of the marvelous music documentaries available today. It was so good, and because of his dad, who was one of the great guitarists in the Wrecking Crew, and so I don't know, were you lucky, or how did Denny enter the picture? How did you guys come together?
Well, I'll tell you what, that had a lot to do with Lisa Roy, our beautiful friend and somebody that helped us tremendously. And Lisa had found out that Denny and Greg Richland were looking for a project to make. And the person they had been talking to, it wasn't working out. The person was stalling and putting it off. So Lisa said, well, what about this? What about the section turning into immediate family? You know, how would that work? And they said, oh, that sounds like a good thing. Then I met with them, the producers, Denny and the directors, and did my best to sell them on this project by saying that we're all a bunch of maniacs. We're interesting people. And that's what would make an interesting documentary. As well as brilliant musicians, we're also like maniacs.
I have to promote it by saying right now, I think it's the only film on Rotten Tomatoes with 100%.
Oh, I heard about that. 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's an
Congratulations.
amazing feat. Well, let's talk about that. We got to jump away for one of those commercial things again, but we'll be back in a short bit, and we'll talk about the Immediate Family documentary and some of the other things going on.
Brilliant.
And you can check out immediatefamilyfilm.com and find out where to stream it and all the great stuff that Mike's talking about. You're listening to the Mike Gormley Show. We'll be right back.